My name is Jennifer Hunt, and I'm a 19-year full-time flight attendant with U.S. Airways, currently based at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, and a member of the Association of Flight Attendants. I'm the wife of John Calley, a Black Hawk helicopter pilot with the Virginia Army National Guard and an Iraq War veteran who completed a 17-month deployment to Iraq in February of 2007. John is a commercial pilot, and we have 2 wonderful young children. As a family where both my husband and I work full-time, I'm here to tell you that the Family and Medical Leave Act has been a great benefit and has provided peace for many. When Congress passed the Family and Medical Leave Act in 1993, the intent was to provide an employee 12 weeks of unpaid leave if they worked a minimum of 60% of a full-time schedule. When developing this threshold, Congress looked at the traditional 40-hour work week, which comes to 1,250 hours. However, I and thousands of other full-time working flight attendants in this country have unfortunately been unable to take full advantage of this benefit. This problem arises out of the fact that flight crew pay hours are calculated in a very unique way. Flight attendants are only paid for their flight hours, which is basically the time from when the door of the aircraft closes until arrival at the destination airport. On the average, when I fly a trip, I'm gone 60 to 65 hours away from base, but I yield about 18 paid flight hours. Your average flight attendant in the industry today works approximately 80 flight hours a month, which translates to approximately 20 days of flying. Again, let me remind you, those 80 hours I reference are only flight hours. They do not include all the time in service to the company performing work. As you can see, the calculation of hours for flight crews in the airline industry is very unique. Basing a threshold of 1,250 hours to our uncommon situation is not relevant. My own situation will help shed some light on this problem. After the birth of our second child and the completion of my husband's deployment to Iraq, I returned to full-time employment as a flight attendant with U.S. Airways, arranging it so that I could be home on the days that my husband worked his schedule in order to care for our 2 small children. On December 27, 2007, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. While exploring the various treatment options available to him and preparing for imminent surgery, I immediately applied for the family and medical leave. Because of the way our hours are calculated, I didn't meet the 1,250-hour requirement for FMLA. I should point out that I was working at U.S. Airways flying 75 hours a month. This is above the 73 flight hours a month that U.S. Airways defines as a full-time schedule. While I was unable to qualify for FMLA, I did, however, qualify for personal care leave, which is something my union, the Association of Flight Attendants, had negotiated with our company management. Negotiating a more meaningful FMLA policy is something that we at U.S. Airways and many other flight attendants at other airlines have had to do. The unfortunate thing with our company-based personal care leave is that it must be used in a 5-day block. The provision within FMLA that would have allowed me to take intermittent leave at various times was not an option for me and my family. Instead of missing 1 day, for instance, to take my husband to medical appointments, I'd be forced to take 5 days off, a waste of productivity for the company and 5 days of no pay for my family at the worst possible moment. I didn't want, nor was I willing to take 5 days of unpaid leave every time I needed to utilize my leave. In the end, I was able, due to the flexibility that my seniority provides, to adjust my schedule so as not to use the personal care leave and avoid such a prolonged absence from work. As my husband's surgery approached in February of 2008, I was forced to juggle my flying schedule to attend his surgery and post-operative care. Very soon after my husband's release from the hospital, I had to return to work. I was incredibly fortunate that I could rely on friends and family to assist in the care of my husband following his surgery and the care of our 2 children. If I did use the personal care leave, I would have unfortunately missed 5 full days of flying, and I couldn't afford that option while my husband was recovering. Madam Chair, this denial of FMLA benefits to flight crew is frustrating because the original authors of FMLA were clear in their intentions that the new law must cover flight crew members who work full-time schedules. This issue was addressed on the House floor, and the bill authors made clear that flight crews were not meant to be held to a hard number for qualification. So we're frustrated that we've been forced to bargain for a right that every American is afforded under the law. What is most frustrating is the fact that we were intended to be covered by the law from the very beginning. Congress must correct this oversight and get back to the original intent of the law. H.R. 2744, a bipartisan bill introduced by Representative Tim Bishop and supported by a majority of the House of Representatives, will provide the necessary clarification to the Family and Medical Leave Act that is so needed. This bill states that airline flight crews will be considered qualified for FMLA if they fulfill or have been paid for 60% of their airline's full-time schedule. The good news for me and my family is that my husband is expected to make a full recovery. However, tens of thousands of other flight attendants are not so lucky. Many are denied FMLA benefits despite the fact that the law was intended to cover flight crew members. The Family and Medical Leave Act has helped millions of employees to remain with their employer but still meet the needs of their family. I urge you to pass H.R. 2744 in order to correct this oversight and get back to what Congress originally intended, that I and the over 90,000 flight attendants in this country will be able to have the peace of mind that the Family and Medical Leave Act is intended to provide.